The Joker War, the mega Batman crossover event writer James Tynion IV has been building towards since taking over DC's Batman comic in late 2019. This event will run through all major Batman universe titles, including Batman, Detective Comics, Catwoman, Nightwing, Batgirl, and Red Hood Outlaw. And Joker War is the first major Batline event really since DC Rebirth started. Many crossovers like Night of the Monster Man, The Price, or The Button notwithstanding. Today I'll answer, what is the upcoming Joker War? How did we get here, and what Batman stories do you need to know first? And how excited am I, and how excited do I think you should be about the Joker War running through 2020? Hey, I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of Comic Book Herald. This is the road to Batman, the Joker War. If you like the CBH YouTube channel or podcast, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Links to channels and Patreon support are included in the show notes. You can find full DC, Batman, and comic book reading orders on comicbookherald.com. Spoilers for discussed comics will follow. Following Tom King's occasionally excellent, often mediocre, and frequently divisive DC Rebirth run on Batman since 2016, James Tynion took over the best-selling title, starting with 2020's Batman number 86. Tynion has a strong resume in Gotham, starting out co-writing books like Talon with Scott Snyder, and writing Joker-focused Batman Endgame backups during the Snyder-Capullo New 52 era. Tynion is also the writer of a very strong run on Detective Comics at launch of Rebirth, and had a strong hand in DC's Year of the Villain, including writing the Hell Arisen mini starring Lex Luthor and the Batman Who Laughs. Leading up to Tynion's run on Batman, we had 80-plus issues written by Tom King, the writer known for celebrated works like Mr. Miracle, Vision, and Sheriff of Babylon. You definitely don't need to read all of DC Rebirth Batman to understand the context of Joker War, but there are a handful of major Batman happenings that come into play, most of which I'm going to try and describe here. Again, note, these get spoilery if you're not familiar with the run up to this point. For starters, King's run really focuses on the romance between Batman and Catwoman, centering around the events of Batman number 50, when Selina Kyle leaves Bruce Wayne hanging around sad, quotes, hanging around sad is also the subtitle of the King run, at the altar, aka a building rooftop. Long story short, they're happily together again at this point in the Batman mythos. King's final arc on the title was called City of Bane, the culmination of the previous 80 issues and the story arc where Bane kills Alfred. The death of Alfred has been pretty heavily publicized, and it's a major story beat Tynion has to follow through on, showing what it means for Batman to effectively lose his father figure for all his formative years. This is why when we get to the Tynion run, Batman is turning to Lucius Fox for the Alfred role throughout this entire first arc on the title called Dark Designs. Okay. So that's the King run in very brief. Around the time of City of Bane, we also have a DC Universe connective theme event, Year of the Villain. For a little insight into what the Joker's been up to, you won't need too much background on this, but Year of the Villain is a build from Scott Snyder and James Tynion's work in Justice League, with Lex Luthor in particular tilting the cosmic scales of the world towards doom with the cosmic entity Perpetua. There's an inessential but good Joker one-shot from legendary horror director John Carpenter, and the all-new Punchline joins Joker in having a role in the Year of the Villain Hell Arisen 4-issue mini written by James Tynion. Hell Arisen is a showdown between Lex Luthor and the dark multiverse Joker-Batman hybrid, the Batman Who Laughs, although all of this builds more to Dark Knight's death metal than anything to do with Joker War, and you can check out Kraken Crisis here on the CBH YouTube channel if you want what's going on in death metal. Enter Tynion's time on Batman and the build to the Joker War, in the pages of the 9-part Dark Design story arc. The story begins with 5 renowned assassins, including Deathstroke, Lady Shiva, and newcomers like Gunsmith, showing up in Gotham City and immediately putting Batman's back against the wall as he attempts to uncover their motivations. I think in particular Bruce Wayne is trying to figure out why is Slade Wilson here and what is he actually doing, having of course an established relationship with Deathstroke as an antagonist. The reveal behind the assassins is the new villain, the Designer, although as we learn by Batman number 93, in a fairly predictable turn given the hype behind Joker War, this Designer in present day is ultimately a puppet of the Joker. Nonetheless, we learn in flashbacks that there was very much a Designer, a Court of the Owl-style secret history of Gotham's villains, and that the Designer originally pitched Joker, Riddler, Catwoman, and Penguin on a plan that would grant them all their greatest wishes. Complete political control for Penguin, richest woman in the world for Selina, on and on, as Batman got started as a crime fighter in the city. The only wrench in his scheme was that he could not actually understand what Joker wanted, pitching him that he could kill Batman and Robin, not quite getting that the Joker's, serial killer nature is significantly more twisted than that. In the background of the apparent Designer schemes, we've seen glimpses and teases of the Joker's plans, from prelude teases in the pages of Nightwing to a very direct prelude in Batman Secret Files number 3, where Joker hires Deathstroke and reveals the plot to steal the Wayne fortune. This helps make it clear that the premise for the Joker War is, what if Joker had Batman's billions? Here's Tynion from an interview with Comics Beat. The munitions of Joker War are the same munitions that Batman built to fight his war on crime. It's Batman's designs used against him ultimately. That's one of the key ways the Joker War builds out of their dark designs. I see them all as different acts in one big story I'm telling that I hope reads pretty smoothly as one singular thing. By the end of Batman number 93, Joker gets Batman's billions, setting the stage for not only a heavily financed Joker declaring war on Batman and Gotham, but specifically a situation where Bruce Wayne will be without his resources. We've seen a lot of versions of Joker stories where the Joker really means it this time, and while this is still one of those, I don't remember a story so specifically honing in on inversing the advantages of resources that Batman has over his enemies. This actually feels more like a Bane strategy to me than one we'd usually associate with the Joker, who's usually a little more fly by the seat of his pants. Other developments? Well, if you follow Comics Press at all or have been to a local comic shop in 2020, obviously with COVID, this is not the easiest thing in the world to say you've done, you've likely heard of Punchline, a new character in Batman comics and the new girlfriend, although again, that feels like a weird word to use here, of the Joker. Whereas Harley Quinn's role alongside the Joker was doting affection and additional quips, Punchline is all business and is shown in this Joker 80th anniversary special as a hardcore acolyte of all things Joker since her college days. Speaking of, Punchline clearly resents Harley Quinn and her former status as Joker's gal, and the two duke it out in dark designs, ultimately concluding in Punchline slicing Harley's throat. There's a weird recurrence of non-fatal sliced throats in this story, as the exact same thing happens to Penguin earlier. Likewise, in the same issue, Catwoman is made a fool, led to reveal all Bruce Wayne's offshore shell corporations, and is then promptly shot for her troubles by Punchline. So heading into the Joker War, we have both Harley and Selina gravely wounded, although this being comics, I have a sneaking suspicion they'll be okay. The clearest distillation of Tynion's run on the title to date is that it's a back-to-basics approach to Batman, shaking off the romantic sad Batman of the King years and reintroducing readers to the more familiar elements of the Gotham underworld and Rogues Gallery. Just looking at the last 2+ years of DC Comics, and certainly some history before that as well, and you'll see a significant glut of Joker, both in line with continuity comics and as part of DC's, standalone Black Label. If the conversation around the 2019 Joker movie left you with nothing else, there's a clear exhaustion many longtime fans feel towards this still immensely popular character. These are the challenges that Tynion and the team face heading into the story. So far, Dark Designs has been interesting but rarely excellent. And although it's early, I'd say at this point I'm a much bigger fan of Tynion's work writing Detective Comics, where he had more of a team and more sort of nuanced characters to bounce off of at the outset of DC Rebirth. The Joker War will make or break the run, though, and if this event can really take off, we could be in for a special era of Batman. If it feels more like paint-by-number crossovers that has all the trappings of too many titles and too many ongoings getting warped into one, storyline that isn't that compelling, then I think the Tynion era of Batman may well fall apart. I'm hoping, of course, for the former, and that it stands out as a very good addition to the Batman mythos, and this will kick off officially with Batman number 5 coming soon to comic shops in 2020. So, if you've got questions, predictions, thoughts on Batman and the Joker War and the Tynion run so far, or just where DC Comics is at with their Batman Comics continuity, leave a comment here on the YouTube channel, or of course you can find me anywhere at Comic Book Herald online or over at comicbookherald.com. I would love to hear your thoughts on where Batman is at and where you think these things might be going, or just if you're digging them overall. And as I mentioned, you can check out Kraken Crisis, the death metal exploration for DC Comics fans out there. Quick shout out to Patreon supporters. You can go over to patreon.com/comicbookherald for ways to support the shite and get some, the shite, yep, that's what I call it. That's what I refer to my own work as, ways you can support the site and, some bonuses that you can get over on the Patreon. If you do so, shout out to our mysterious benefactors this recording as well. Eric Hodges, Jeff Zacharias, Ron Paul Kirkley, Jesse W., Slatron, Robert Mickelson, Professor Pride, and Steve Brennan. Thank you so much for your support. I'm Dave. You can find me at comicbookherald.com, at Comic Book Herald, pretty much anywhere online. Look for the Best Comics Ever and My Marvelous Year podcasts to subscribe as well. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And as always, enjoy the comics.